Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see, today I'm going to be taking a look at Tall Tales, the Wild West BX fantasy adventure game by Mark A. Hunt. To be perfectly honest with you, this was my plan C for a video this past week. I've been struggling to get Red Dead Redemption 2 to to work optimally well in order for recording and everything. So I kind of scrapped that because still haven't managed to figure out what I'm going to do with that game and how I'm going to actually present it on the channel. So I'm still playing around with that a little bit. My second plan was to do Gangbusters BX version, also by Mark A. Hunt. I was expecting that to come in the mail, but it didn't. It actually got as far as my post office yesterday afternoon at 1, and they haven't, they didn't deliver it, and it's probably, I'm not going to see it until Tuesday because of the Veterans Day holiday here in the States. Um, and considering that, thank you to all of you who have served. I hope you enjoy your Veterans Day, as I will be with mine and my family. And, once again, for all of those who are currently serving and have served, a big salute to all of you and thank you for your service. So, back to the game now. So, I am going to jump right in and show you, how pretty neat this little game is, because it is, it's a very, it's a very OSR, very back to the basics kind of role-playing game, and it's certainly something that you can pick it up on Drive-Through RPG. So use the link in the description of the video, and as a matter of fact, it was from the money that my affiliation program had generated that I actually bought the PDF of this game. So once again, thank you for all of you who have been following the channel and hitting that link, because that's what allowed me to purchase this and then kind of reinvest it back into the channel as well. So that's part of the reason why you're seeing this game as well. So let me jump right into it, and we are going to go to a screen capture, and there we go. So Tall Tales, Wild West BX fantasy adventure game. Basic rules, written layout and concept by Mark Hunt. The cover art is by Anton Otto Fisher. The art is actually very, very well, good in this. I really do like it. Um, and of course they give, Mark gives credit to, Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, because it really does give you that throwback feel to the basic expert edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Common abbreviations, and this is, there's been some questions and debates about what is an old school Renaissance or old school, like a retro, going back to old school principles of gaming. And here you have what makes a game an OSR game. All right, the fact that it's using the standard abilities that many of us have become accustomed to, plus hit points and the idea of hit dice and armor class and such. So these are all of the things that really do make a game stand out as an OSR game. So it is 92 pages, or roughly there, about 92 pages long. So it is a full RPG. Getting started, it tells you how to get started, talks about the dice mechanics. So for character creation, you're using the 3d6. How to play an RPG. So creating a character goes into rolling your ability scores. So you basically roll your 3d6 for your characters: charisma, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, strength, and wisdom. There is a optional rule if you do have a subpar character with very poor ability scores. You can either re-roll or discard or use some other kind of methodology to deal with that. You do have classes, so it is a class system. And then ability adjustment scores, you can flex those points on a sale of 2 for 1. So if I wanted to raise an ability score by 1 point, I'd have to take away from either intelligence, strength, or wisdom in order to do that. No score can be lowered below a 9 using this swap out system. So we keep on going, and then rolling for hit points based on the classes. You'll have a certain number of either hit points or hit die to be rolled, and you could use a variety of optional skills there as well. So note armor class. The armor worn. All right, if your character has no armor, his or her AC is a 9. Modifiers for high or low dexterity will adjust that. It's using a descending armor class system, so the lower the better. So prime requisites. So each character class has one or more prime requisites. That is an ability score or scores that are especially important. A character score in his or her class prime requisite affects how quickly the character is able to gain experience points. And here are the adjustments for the ability scores. So you can have an ability score from between 3 and 18. And the standard adjustment is, so if you have a 15 or a 13 to 15, you would get a +1 on your effects or your rolls. And there would be a 5% increase in experience if your prime requisite is that statistic or attribute that is between the 3 and 15, and so on. So you can gain more experience because of a higher ability score. It goes through and explains what each attribute is, its basic definition, and what type of skills it governs. Intelligence here gives a bonus for languages, and there is a section on languages that I will go into in some detail. Wisdom generally affects saving throws. So here it affects saving throws versus seduction or swindling. Dexterity improves armor class. And so if you have a 16 to 17, you're going to have a +1 to your initiative bonuses, and you would have a +1 to your AC, or basically lowering your AC, by that bonus point. Constitution usually gives you additional hit points. In this case, it does as well. Charisma affects your reactions with NPCs. It also adjusts your number of retainers and your retainers' morale. So how many you can have, and how well you can, or for how long you can basically utilize them without them getting too upset. Your character classes, and I'll just briefly go over these. So you have a gunslinger, and you'll notice all the classes, they max out at level 6. So a gunslinger, a desperado, a mountain man, a brave, a singing cowboy, a snake oil salesman, and the number of points gained at each level is listed as a +1 or +2. This number is not adjusted by high or low constitution scores, as merely added to the total number of hit points. So that they'll tell you you'll roll a D8, 2D8, 3D8, 4D8, 4D8 +1, 48 plus 2. So if you were creating a 6th level character fresh, that character would start with 48 plus 2 hit points. So Desperados only get a D4, Mountain Men get a D6, Braves get a D6, Singing Cowboys get a D6, and Snake Oil Salesmen get a D4. So your 2 hit points wise weakest classes are Desperados and Snake Oilmen, Salesmen. Goes through each of the character classes, so a gunslinger, and then it'll talk about their restrictions. All right, determining hit points, a gunslinger does not have a prime attribute and cannot earn bonus due to the heightened ability scores. All right, so they don't have a bonus for experience points. Special ability starting first level becomes a lightning, quick, and deadly when drawing his shooting irons. He or she gains a bonus to all damage and initiative checks equal to his or her gunslinger level. This only works with pistols. And so on. So they add, they keep on talking about their special abilities. So it appears that they have 1, 2. This one kicks in at 3rd level. This is incumbent upon, provides the gunslinger with personal reputation. Steely Gaze. Once per day, a gunslinger can cause an NPC that is lower level to make a gumption check. If they fail, they must either cower in fear or run away or fight at a -1 to hit. And here we have Desperados. And it goes through details for each of the character classes. Special ability of Snake Oil Salesman, use many more powerful medicines or elixirs. So these are actually, potions and salves. So this class here, they're actually making, the products that they sell. So that's pretty cool. It says how many they can prepare per day. Mountain Men, special ability at 2nd level. They pick either a wolf, bear, or mountain lion as a pet. So this is basically your pet class. And at 3rd level, they gain the ability to identify animals and plants. It's probably a lot of fun to play that kind of a character. The Brave is the mighty warriors of the Great Plains. Restrictions, they use 6-sided dice to determine their hit points. Special abilities, they can spot and follow a trail across almost any ground. All right, so they're experienced hunters and trackers. Natural remedies can be applied to a brave to heal 2 points plus wisdom bonus, minimum of 1 point. All right, and braves may elect to receive visions from the spirit world. So once again, you're playing a Native American here, and they have a variety of special abilities appropriate for that culture and that class. A singing cowboy is probably the equivalent of a bard. Let's see. Singing cowboys can inspire their allies, bolstering them and improving their chances of success. And so, like I said, pretty much a bard. Another interesting character class. Alignment. So there are 4 alignments in this, in this game. So you have law-abiding, neutrality, dishonest. Oh, 3. I'm sorry. You have 3. So law-abiding, which is kind of obvious. Neutral is, in between, where they're basically serving themselves, and then dishonest, which is obviously a serving themselves, but generally at the expense of others. Player characters have to choose one of the 3. Languages, so everyone starts with the common tongue, which they call basically English. And then it says here that the characters or the players can roll a D20 to determine if they wanted to. I would, as a GM, I would just have them, if they do have additional languages, to choose the one that makes the most sense. Um, I mean, some of these, if we're talking about the late 1800s, Old West, some of these wouldn't be, wouldn't make very much sense. And others, much more sense. Like, I don't know how many Arabic you're going to come across um, in those stories, or Hindi, um, Japanese, I guess some on the West Coast. Um, Probably not very many during that time period. I mean, obviously Chinese would be, same thing with Russian. I mean, I don't know if, very many Russians that were, in the West. It would be an interesting thing to check out, or Italians, or French you would see because of that. Romanians, probably virtually, few if any. Um, Dutch a possibility. So some of these languages are a little bit a weird choice to have in that setting. So, what did you do before you started playing? So you kind of have, and you could always apply this if your character is fairly young. You can have this apply to his or her parents instead. So that's one way to flesh out your character as well. Um, it starts getting into the economy. So weapons costs and such, and their damage types. So here's your equipment charts, standard equipment that can be used, armor classes, and a description of how armor works. There are deduct one from armor class number if worn. So you have some optional rules, like you're going to deduct one for either wearing a white hat or a black hat, and that obviously denotes your character alignment. And then if you're wearing a badge, uh, you get a -1 as well. And you must be sworn in as a lawman in order to get that armor reduction. Goes into mounts, and so there's obviously rules on mounts, and it gives their stats and your ability to ride them. What happens if the horse gets spooked? Getting to reduce to 0 when you're in the saddle. What happens if a mount gets shot out from underneath you? There's structure prices for purchasing buildings. Retainer system, hiring retainers, hiree reactions. So class level, morale, and experience points, treasure types. So when you defeat adversaries, how much experience points do you gain? Code of the West, division experience, character advancement and death, potions, mixing potions, just scrolling through, known potions, how to run the game, setting up an adventure. So it's very, very detailed. So if you're brand new to role-playing games, this game is a good game to start off with, because it is, once again, it's a basic rules. And so it really does lay out in a very clear and well thought out way how to play an RPG. And certainly how to run one if you're a brand new GM. Has all kinds of effects, from starvation to swimming to drowning to falling, foraging, hunting, water travel, movement, different types of movement, whether you're on foot or on a mount. There's wandering adversaries. I know there was one thing I wanted to point out here. They go into encounters. There was one. section I wanted to point out that it just really just caught me. So these are some standard combat charts. And these would be good panels to have on your GM screen, especially if you have one with exchangeable slides like I use for my other games. I pull them out of a sleeve, so I can take my GM's board and replace up to 8 panels of information. So this gives you all of your combat charts and such that you would need. Very, very good artwork that he has included in here. So basic combat sequence, that would be a good thing to have pointing out towards the players on the back side of your GM screen so that they can have a quick refresher if they're learning the game for the first time. Different types of cover and shooting from high ground. So even though it is basic, it does have some very, layered types of rules and everything. So it's, you can have basic and still cover everything at the same time. Range for melee versus missile attacks. Damage rolls. There was a section about NPCs that really caught my eye. We're starting to get into the GM section now, and we're about 70 pages in. So designing a base town, law and justice, adversaries, along with a stat block format. Various types of animals that can be included, basic variations of NPCs, groups of NPCs. Every NPC should be somebody. And so here's where you take an NPC and you start just randomly rolling and determining some of these factors about the character, including their names, so you can generate various names, occupations, a wandering adversary chart, continued. There are loot tables, many forms of hidden loot, they have stealing, and so you have the different types of, ranges of loot that can be found, and whether it be a small bank or off a citizen, a freight wagon. And here's some additional standard combat charts, which once again is part of your GM screen, if you chose to do that. And then an Appendix A of suggested reading, and the character sheet. And this will be one of the next games that as soon as I get the soft cover, I will be going over that. So let me switch views. So there's a real quick run through of this on drive through. Let me see how much this was. It was cheap drive through. I should have had this. I should have had this done already. Let's see. This was $1.99. All right, so for $2, you can get this game. I mean, you really can't beat that. And it is, like I said, a full blown game out. Let me show you the character sheet very quickly. So here's the character sheet. And once again, very simple format. You have your player's name, your character's name, your alignment, your class, your level, your armor class, your hit points, a little picture if you want to insert a picture, the GM, which is called the judge's name, strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma, its adjustments here. These are your saving throws, gumption, quickness, toughness, writing, and observation. Your special abilities, what you need to hit the armor class. All right, so armor class 0, which is the lowest, armor class 9, which is basically unarmored, and you'll have what you need to hit there. Flip the page over, and you have your weapons and equipment, your items on your horse, notes, any additional notes that you have for areas explored, people encountered, etc., experience, treasure, and coin. So a very, very simple system, very simple, straightforward character sheet. And so, as you can see, now I expect that Gangbusters is going to be very similar in its, in its simplicity, but again, once again, simple doesn't necessarily mean, or basic doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't multiple layers of just interesting things going on with the system. In this case, like the different levels of cover that you can have, or the different effects of potions or elixirs and so on. So don't shy away from basic, from the word basic when they're talking about a game system and thinking that, oh well, this is going to be very very simplistic and not have a variety of options that are also included in it. So once again, enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's a 3-day weekend here, so I know some people might be celebrating Veterans Day, and once again, thank you for the veterans out there, those in the past and those still currently serving. Thank you very much for your service, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Leave your questions and comments in the comments section. Share the video if you really enjoyed it, and hit the alerts bell so that you'll get the next video that I put up there, which I'm hoping will be probably tomorrow or the next day, by Monday or Tuesday at the latest will be my next video. So once again, thanks for joining. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. You'll have a good afternoon.